Hi, welcome to Worship Table. I know some of you may be joining us with a group of friends or family. Some of you are joining us alone, and I see you, and we're glad that you're here. We're glad that you're worshiping along with us. I want to start today by inviting us to a centering practice. I know typically we may pray and invite in the presence of God and the Holy Spirit, and this prayer is recognizing and remembering that God invites us into His presence. So as I breathe in and breathe out, we'll recite one word and add a word to each line, reciting from Psalm 46, "Be still and know that I am God." So breathe and pray with me. Be still. Be still and. Be still and know. Be still and know that. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I am God. And we thank God for reminding us that we can breathe in His peace and His presence today and every day.
Make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is darkness, let me shine light. And may your love cause us to open up, calls us to open up our hearts. May your light cause us to shine so bright that we bring hope into the dark. That we do without love, it means nothing. Grant us the courage to give as your instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is darkness, let me shine light. And may your love cause us to open up, calls us to open our hearts. your love is. May we love as you love. May we love. May we love as you love. May your love cause us to open up, cause us to open up our hearts. May your light cause us to shine so bright that we bring hope into the dark.
Hey, Ecclesia. Hope you all are doing well. I'd like to begin a conversation with us about practice. And so what's a practice that you have in your life today? You know, for me as a cyclist, I've spent many hours cycling. This past summer, I was bike camping in Montana. And as I was driving to my friend's ranch, I didn't have the right bike for those few days. And so he's a frame builder, and he was like, no problem. Why don't you borrow one of my bikes? We're like the same height. So I got there, I took a tape measure to measure the bike, and it fit perfect. So it was 4 days, 16,000 feet of climbing on the beautiful countryside just outside of Bozeman. So as I was climbing the first day, I noticed my rear brake didn't work, which was fine, you know, not the best, but you mainly use your front brake. And so it was 4 days, beautiful climbing, descending, camping. Then on the last day, we were descending, this huge descent for about an hour, descending. And as I was coming to this right turn, I noticed that my front brake didn't work. I grabbed both brakes, nothing. There was a right turn and a 200-foot drop. And in that moment, without thinking, I put both feet down and I skidded for about 1,000 feet, like right up to the edge of the cliff. And in that moment, it was 15 years of practice, over tens of thousands of hours. It grounded me in a moment of catastrophe. And so the question I have for us is, do we have a spiritual practice that grounds us in times of catastrophe? Because catastrophe will come. You know, no one gets a pass. At some point, life will hit us in the face. And when we have that practice that grounds us in those moments. And so the text we find ourselves in this morning is Philippians. And Paul's in the middle of catastrophe. He's in prison. And in catastrophe, he writes about the peace of God that surpasses, transcends understanding. Isn't that what we want? And is there a practice that we can practice just a little bit each day, so when those moments come, it's the peace of God? And so we pick up the text in verse 4, and he says this: rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again. Rejoice. So what might that mean? So the word rejoice in the original language means to open your heart. So you could say this verse is saying, open your heart to what is, always. I say it again. Open your heart. So as we consider our lives now, what is? Are our hearts open? Or are they closed? And what might that practice be to learn how to open our hearts, maybe in small moments, so that perhaps when catastrophe comes, we're still able to open our hearts? So one of the ways I do this, there's a phrase I use. When I notice that my heart's closed, I say out loud, I forgive this moment. And as I say that out loud, it snaps me back into this moment. And I feel my heart open just a little bit. Recently, there was one night I was up late. I don't remember why I was up late. And you get snacky right before bed sometimes. And so I kind of wandered to the fridge. It's like almost midnight. Open the fridge. I want so badly to eat ice cream. But I decided I was going to be kind to my body. It tastes delicious in the moment, but I want something that my body enjoys. And so I see this box of blueberries. So I was like, I'll have some blueberries. Perfect. Satiate the snackiness, call it a night. So I pull up the box, and as I'm pulling up the box, I hit the fridge of the door, and I can still see it in slow motion. I hit the fridge of the door. The box goes flying out of my hand. It's spinning in slow motion. It spins by the clock on the oven. It says 11:58. I remember that. And then it hits the ground and blueberries all over the floor. So my first instinct is to let out a string of adult words, like a long string of just like a good chunk of adult words. And then I catch myself. I take a deep breath, and I go, I forgive this moment. And it snapped me into that room. I was back there. I saw blueberries strewn all over the floor, and I said, I forgive it. And then I just started laughing. And here I was at midnight on the floor, just picking up blueberries. And so that's a small thing. But perhaps we practice those small ones so that when our life gets strewn all over the kitchen floor, when our relationships get strewn all over the kitchen floor, when our work gets strewn all over the kitchen floor, we can forgive that moment. And perhaps our hearts just open up a little bit more. And so Paul says, open your hearts to this moment. I say it again. Open your hearts. And then in verse 5, he says this, it's interesting. He says, let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. He's saying God is here in this moment. And be gentle. What's the relationship between being gentle and experiencing peace? What do you think? I propose this. That unless you're gentle with yourself, your gentleness won't be able to be evident to the people you love, to the people around you. And maybe a question we can ask is, are you gentle with yourself? What are those moments that it's hard to be gentle with yourself? What's the earliest memory you have of learning not to be gentle with yourself? You know, for me, I have this memory. I was 9 years old. I was in a place that is probably the least ideal place for a 9-year-old. I was in a church basement in a children's choir during children's choir practice, right? Of all places on earth, that's probably where you don't want a 9-year-old. So I remember acting like a 9-year-old, developmentally appropriate, just being rambunctious. And somehow my mother walked by, saw me. I didn't see her walk in. And I remember her whispering something in my ear. I don't remember what she said. All I remember is she walked away and tears just started coming down. I remember the feeling. I remember my best friend looking at me like confused. I remember feeling embarrassed. And I think from that day on, there's a part of my brain that says if I don't act just right, if I don't act appropriately, there's this voice in my head. It's like kind of mean. Like you wouldn't be friends with this voice. You wouldn't hang out with that voice. And I can see what would it look like for us to learn gentleness with ourselves. What do those voices say? And how can we can even thank those voices. It was trying to protect us and take care of us. And that perhaps we don't need those voices anymore. And then he ends with this. Do not be anxious about anything. That's fantastic. I don't want to be, right? But in every situation, by prayer and petition and thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And then he says, the peace of God, which transcends all understanding. Did you catch that? I think that's the secret right there. That if we're able to transcend our thinking, our understanding, not to go below it, to notice our thoughts, the thoughts that are sometimes not gentle, trust that those thoughts, that's not us, it's just a thought. Those thoughts that cause anxiety, those thoughts that keep us from being grateful. And if we're able to transcend our thoughts, Paul says, it's the peace of God, even in catastrophe. And what if it's true, Ecclesia, that when we believe our thoughts, we suffer, and when we don't, we're free. I'll say that one more time. That when we don't believe our thoughts, we're free. When we believe our thoughts, we suffer. And so if we practiced each day, just opening our hearts to this moment, to what is, to be gentle with ourselves, and to transcend our thoughts, our understanding, and to be with the peace of God that's always there. And so this is my prayer for us. And as I pray it, I invite you to repeat the prayer out loud after me. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I welcome everything that comes to me today. because I know it's for my healing. I welcome all thoughts, feelings, emotions, persons, situations, and conditions. I let go of my desire for power and control. I let go of my desire for affection, esteem, approval, and pleasure. I let go of my desire for survival and security. I let go of my desire to change any situation, condition, person, or myself. I open myself to the love and healing of the divine and to God's presence within. Amen.
As Gideon just shared with us, this prayer of welcome, 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 that is what we get to do here now. I'm going to guide us through a gratitude practice as we consider recognizing who God is in our midst and what we are grateful for. Gideon shared from Philippians 3 that rejoice means to open our heart to what is. And this practice of gratitude is a way that we can practice opening our heart to what is. And so I'm going to share some prompts and then leave some space for you to consider these with God. And I invite you to take a deep breath and perhaps close your eyes and simply tell God, I am here. And now I invite you, if your eyes are closed, to open them and take a look around the space that you are in. Perhaps you are in your home or in an outdoor space with your small group, but just notice what your eyes rest on. Is there an object or scenery around you that you can offer gratitude for? And talk to God and offer that gratitude to God now. Now let's consider the people in your life. Perhaps there's a person that you are most grateful for in this very moment. Who is this person? Or why are you grateful for this person in this moment? Now express your gratitude to God for this person. As we continue offering gratitude, I invite you to consider God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. For what in this moment are you most grateful for about the Holy Trinity? And talk to God about that now. I invite you now to take a look inward. As Gideon prompted, when have you been gentle with yourself? Consider a moment, maybe recently or a while ago, where you were gentle with yourself. Receive life again from this particular moment and express gratitude to God for this gentleness that you have shown yourself. And as a part of these contemplative practices, we like to end them with asking God for, what are you inviting me into because of this practice? And so I invite you now to ask God, what is the invitation that you have for me from this gratitude practice? And consider this invitation with God now. Now I invite you to take a deep breath, and perhaps another deep breath. If you want to close your eyes again, you can do so now, because we are just going to breathe deeply, knowing that we are in God's presence. And so close your eyes and take a deep breath to simply rest here with God. I thank you so much for joining me in this practice of gratitude. If this is a practice that you would find helpful to you this week, you can find a PDF for this practice on our website, ecclesiahouston.org/online. And I want to invite you to take a moment this week to find opportunities to rejoice, to open your heart to what is. Ecclesia, we love you. Go and dwell in peace.